Good morning. Welcome back to the Phoenix Firm podcast, Signals from the Ashes. Today, again, we have with us Kendall, who's our senior sales lead. We have Sam, who's our founder. And I'm Juliana, AKA G, marketing director here at the firm. We have lots to talk about today. A lot of things are happening right now, leaving all of us, mainly businesses, a little bit at a loss of where to put the next step. So in the news, we're seeing the tariff implications, what that can mean for us. We've been here before last year, facing some of that, and a lot of businesses have struggled, defining processes, how to move forward uh, with these big shifts in market. So that'll be our discussion today. Sam, maybe you can start us off with what your thoughts are on this news and where this shift could take us.
No, definitely. Thank you. And I think it's key to remember, right, what happened in the spring of 2025. What happened was a rapid market shift that a lot of people did not expect. A lot of people did not believe would actually happen. And I think it's worth mentioning that we're again into a similar position where we're thinking there is no way Canadian goods will be tariff 100%. There is no way.
Yeah.
Last year, we were talking about the same topic and we said, there's no way, there's no way. And it did happen. And we have to remember the impact on businesses. The impact was real, was felt very quickly. If you drive in the industrial areas in the Greater Toronto area, you can see there is a ton of empty buildings. A lot of manufacturing site had to shift models. And I think it's worth it to think, okay, maybe business owners and manufacturing sites or different industries are thinking, well, you know what? We made it through last spring. We're ready. We can do it again. But
Yep.
the reality is that it's not the same level this time around that it was last year, right? So,
Mhm.
and I think people have to be realistic. What would be the implication of 100% tariffs on Canadian goods in the US market? That'd be huge. So I think that's the topic of the conversation, right? It's how can you be ready for such a shift?
Mhm.
Yeah, Sam, you're exactly right. And it's not just the economic impact, but the business life impact. If you don't have a grasp on your business today, you risk losing customers, losing partners, because they don't know if how would you operate in such a change. And so business owners today are so much there's a lot of worry. There's so much anxiety, and they're looking for consultants and tools that can help sort through the mess, right? That we find ourselves in.
Yeah. And I think it's really important to highlight that um, a lot of people try to do it on their own, right? And it's great. A lot of very good, capable people can do so much. But at the end of the day, being guided in the right direction is what the expertise that proper consultants can bring to the table, right? Having that right partner by your side, facing the challenges, and being able to advise you on what's the right way forward is key. And I think that's part of why we want to make sure that people are ready for those potential changes. If they want to do it on their own, that's perfect. What's your plan? How can you establish a plan and how can you follow that roadmap that you've established?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
think it's worth mentioning, right? What can be done? And I mean, both of you have also been in different industries and different organizations. So I'd be curious to know, what do you feel a lot of time lacks in order to have an organization be able to pivot in their processes?
Right systems. I think if you're prepared and you have a game plan, and can really, bring that forward, That's the only way I think a business can operate correctly in an environment like today. You have to today almost like expect the unexpected, right? We laugh about it, but it's the reality. 5 years ago, this would never be something that in my opinion, a business would uh, have on top of mind or at a level where they think it's mission critical. And I think that's the message today. This is mission critical. You have to know the entire business inside and out, where and why, and mapping out, what ifs. And that I think is the difference that we see today. That's an important part of a business today. And I'll add also, the complications of other things that they have to deal with, right? Changing resource metrics as well as currency changes, right? And buyer behavior. So very important.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, especially with the implications of something like tariffs and what that can mean for businesses, there's no room for guesswork or trial and error within your processes. Like Kendall mentioned, if you don't have a handle on exactly what that process is, and everyone who is involved in that knows what that process is, um, it could really be catastrophic if you don't know what to do next. Coming with a UX background and coming into operations, it has been so evident that a really small change um, in a process that is solid can make a really big impact. So the shift in process doesn't have to be also a huge overhaul of everything. Also, it could just be minor tweaks here and there, but there needs to be that deep understanding of how all of those little pieces work as a whole. And of course, I mean, in businesses that are facing this pressure, who are trying to navigate in this climate, it could be easy to lose sight and lose focus of what's important in seeing the bigger picture when there is that pressure. So, like you said, Sam, having a team or having people around you who are able to support you and take a zoomed out view of the process, where you're going, what you're trying to achieve, and how the small changes can make the big difference in this changing market, I think is huge.
And I think it's interesting, right? Often we think about, okay, our goods are done here in Canada, therefore we're gonna sell them to the US. Well, now there is implications to that. But often we forget that where are the raw materials sourced, right? We had a client that sourced raw ingredients globally to save a few pennies. Well, it so happened that because of the certain countries of origins, the US tariff on the goods that were manufactured in Canada was even higher. And that's pre this round of tariff, right? Um, and the conversation is really a global topic because recently Mexico now have included tariffs on Chinese products. So now Mexican factories that are producing materials, producing goods, are being tariffed on the importation of Chinese goods. And now, when they're selling to the American market, they're also being tariffed because of those same Chinese goods that were purchased. So now the implication is really large because it's not just an impact for the customers in the US market, but it's also the whole supply chain cost now has increased exponentially. And how do you know if your markets will still sustain that, right? And I think both your point is so valid. Process needs to be defined. Um, System have to be put in place that we know what is the next step, right? Um, I'm thinking of my early days in supply chain. Often it was very reactive. Okay, this is happening. What are we doing? Then you spend a day almost trying to figure out the next step, trying to figure it out yourself. But there is ways that you can define those systems, define those processes, right? And it does not have to be a complicated path forward. It can be very streamlined, very vision oriented, that you know exactly what are the steps and what will be the next steps, right? And it's interesting because in my head, even as we're thinking of the topic, I really thought, okay, my personal experience when I first started in supply chain, what was the path, right? And how could it be so different nowadays with the tools that exist, right? And I think, coming up with the little example that we did is such a good thing that, I mean, for our YouTube viewers and not our, our podcast listeners, we can put on the screen a little process map that we did, right? And that really shows, okay, there's multiple tasks along the way, but a proper, well-defined process can really help you to keep the momentum despite the changes, right? Okay, if supply chains finds out about the new tariff that are being applied, great. Reach out to your custom team, your custom brokers, and confirm the fiscal implication of those changes. Because often HS code tariffs are applied per HS codes. So, how is your product being categorized? What's the fiscal implication? And from there, take the decision: is a new manufacturer needed? And from there, follow your procedures. And that's the importance of having procedures put in place. Find the suppliers, try to request for samples. And yes, the manufacturers will have to send the samples. You will have to evaluate them, but you need to have standards to evaluate them against. And as the process move along the way, make sure you loop in quality, because when you change manufacturer, there will be a change in quality as well. You want to make sure that you maintain that same level of quality. Otherwise, not only will you lose some of your clients potentially because of the price change that you need to apply because of the different implications of tariffs, but also because of product quality, you could lose a big, massive market share, and you don't want to do that. So make sure that you have a proper process defined, and really be able to apply that in your day to day, in your processes, in your change evaluations.
Yeah, Sam, you're nailing it. And what I love about this, and I'll go back to I think what you said before. Any change can mean the difference between finding a new customer, keeping a customer, and keeping that standard that you've had for so long. But it gets you in front, right? It's not just process. I love what you said. It's not just process. Everything's now, an external calculation that may not have been seen. And so by getting in front, you now can predict a little bit more where and what changes can be focused on.
Yeah. And I mean, we use a great tool. We use Adonis to do this process map. They have a free version online. It's really fantastic tool, but y- this can be applied even using an Excel. Yeah, it might not have the same level of details. It might be a little bit complicated to do, but taking a couple of minutes to download or create an account with them, with Adonis specifically, allows you to be able to create processes, make sure that you map them properly, make sure that they make sense. And you can export images like that. That just makes it so easy to communicate via email, to say, okay, we're done this part, this part. Now, next part is on quality. So please, quality team, be expecting of, the package on your desk. Make sure that you're there tomorrow in the office to evaluate those samples, because we need a quick turnaround. So making sure that everyone is on board, everyone is on the same page as to what's the roadmap in front of us when pivoting is crucial. Um, I've heard of organizations that sometimes took weeks in order to find out what was the proper uh, material content of their goods, which meant that for weeks they paid a huge amount of tariffs.
Wow.
Uh, when really everything could have been simply put on a process map saying, dedicating a couple team members of each of the team to say, we need to find that out now. Instead of being reactive, let's get in front of it. Let's define the process. And doing a process like that can take only 15, 20 minutes, 30 minutes maybe. And you review it with your team, with your management team, and say, okay, you know what? This is what the process should look like. Let's make sure everyone is on board. And once you have it done, it's done forever. No matter how many times tariffs will change, no matter what are the market situation, you have a plan that you can replicate over and over and over again that will just really allow you to pivot, to be flexible, even though you have a defined process. And that's the beauty of, I think, really the activity here.
Yeah, I love that, Sam. Simply put, it allows you to understand, yes, but it really, just looking at this model here, it gives you the ability to push forward or pull back on the throttle, right? And this can be done for looking at the process here, byproduct. It can be done for the overall solution or chain, and it just gives you more control. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I like too that it also tests your standards. Like this is the high level view of process that can be defined. But when we talk about evaluating, reviewing, there's also so many standards that go into that. And like this is the high level, and then you'll have all these sub processes and defining and definitions, I should say, and what those mean. But if you don't have this, it's really hard to grasp where those things live, how they apply, and how changes in there can, make a big impact on the overall picture. So I love the approach of we're zooming out, we're at the highest level, and then we're able to dive deeper and figure out also understand everything as a whole, how it all works together, and then make those changes to be adaptable.
No, and that's exactly the point. Be adaptable. And we don't know what the market will bring. A good example, even, yes, there's talks of Canada getting 100% tariff, but on the other side of things, um, the prime minister also announced that there will be free trade agreements that are going to be established. So why not benefit of those free trade agreement as well, right? It goes both ways. Yes, you don't want to increase your price, but why not look at to improving your bottom line? Yes, the market are shifting, but can you find new customer pools? Can you reach out to new markets to make sure that it's gonna be in the best interest of the organization?
Mm. Yeah.
Amazing. And Sam, my question here to you would be if a firm or a company, a manufacturer, hasn't gone through this process, what's the best way for them to get started? And this might be they are they're a smaller organization, or they might be a company that's been around for a while, but this is their first go at it. What would you recommend they look at or start to do to make sure they do it correctly?
I think finding the right tool to start you off. Um, Doing a process like we're seeing on screen right now does not have to take long, but it takes the right tool to do that. Your question is so good, Kendall, because I think we have to make sure um, the right tool is being picked, right? And often organization gets paralyzed into analysis paralysis, right? They want to make sure that they get the best tool possible and there is evaluation process and everything. It's true, it's required, but sometimes finding the right experts that will lead you to the the right tool is key. Um, if you're in the desert, why would you look for water on your own and not ask around for the people that know where the oasis is, right? And I think finding the right partner is key. Finding out the right tool, yeah, obviously will save your business, but the right partner will guide you to the right place to go. And I think that that's really key. So make sure you have the right partner. We personally recommend, we're big fans of Adonis because we've seen the results. The ROI for businesses is there, right? Um, there's a way to start evaluating the product without really making it complicated. And I think that's a fantastic way to start. Um, any way to start is the best way to start. Because if we say, oh, well, we want to make sure we have a defined tool that need to be established on the company level, we want everybody to have access. Ooh, this is too expensive. Then it becomes a step that will never, a process that will never be taken, a journey that nobody will embark on because of those mental barriers that we're putting on ourselves, right? And this is so crucial in these times. I'm gonna repeat it again. Organization need to be able to adapt, need to be able to pivot. If you don't have a foundation defined, you're not gonna be able to pivot. You're gonna be stuck. And that's what the key message to me is. Create a foundation that allows you to pivot, but that defines what you need to do next. And that's really key.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're bang on, and I feel this is going to help a lot of companies, especially who are looking for that compass north, right? Or who've seen a lot of red line in their budget, even as early in the year as we are, right? This is going to help them, in my opinion, chart forward. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
definitely.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, very well said. I mean, we use Adonis internally, externally. You've seen the results, and um, I mean, are working at being experts if we're not already with the tool, and are happy to help guide where we can. Yeah. So thank you both for your insights today. That was awesome. A lot of big news. I mean, we'll see what's coming up, but you know that we'll be on top of it. Thank you
Exactly.
guys for the
Sure.
discussion today.
Absolutely.
We'll drop some reference to Adonis and how you can navigate to checking it up. All
Thank you,
right.
everyone. Nice
Thanks,
chatting.
Good
guys.
day, guys. Good to see you guys. Have a good day.